All right, let's get right into it. We're going to be talking about lighting and contrast. All right, so what are we going to cover today? First, we're going to talk a little bit about lighting preferences. We're then going to talk a little bit about ambient versus task lighting, the different types of lighting, finding that right balance of light from brightness and glare, optimal positioning, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the importance of good contrast. All right, so first, why is light just so important when it comes to those with vision loss? Well, first off, as we age, we naturally are going to need more light. An 80-year-old needs twice the amount of light as somebody who is 20 years old. And this is because, with the aging eye, there's a lot of things going on and things aren't receiving as well as they used to. So we do need more light to make sure that we can still see. Additionally, more light can help improve contrast. It can help optimize our remaining sight. And what's most important too is finding the right level of light as well. There's such a thing as too much light. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the basics of lighting. First is the brightness, and this is measured in lumens, and this is how strong that light is. So this can range quite a bit, and we can change it both with a dimmer switch if you have those available, or also how close we move the light to what we're trying to do. Obviously, the closer you put the light to your task, the brighter it's going to be for you. This is one reason why we do recommend something called a gooseneck lamp. It's called this because it looks just like a goose's neck, where it's long, thin, and adjustable. And this allows you to really focus your light on the task that you want and angle it exactly at where you want as well. We're going to talk a little bit more about that soon enough. The other piece of light is the color, and this is measured in kelvins. And this is how intense the light is. So we have three main ones that you need to know about: blue light, white light, and yellow light. Blue light is the very, very bright light. This is the light that's going to be if your screen is extraordinarily bright, or if you're outside and it's extraordinarily light. This is going to be a very powerful, and oftentimes this may be a little too much light for you. And so a lot of the times when there's blue light present, there's dimmers available too, so you can try to adjust that. Or manual things such as these glasses that I have shown on this screen. These are called fitovers, and they help cut down some of that light to help reduce glare. White light is much closer to everyday sunlight or the typical light that comes off of, say, an LED bulb. And then yellow light is that cooler light. It oftentimes does actually look yellow. And these are going to be cooler. And sometimes this is not going to be enough light. It's going to depend on the person. I know a lot of folks, they prefer using this lower level of light for their room lighting. Additionally, there's something called glare. Glare is the excess reflected light that will then overwhelm our eyes, which will make it difficult to see. Think about dusk and dawn when you're driving and the sun's shining directly on your windshield, but it just seems to wash everything out and you can't see as well. This is a prime example of what glare is. You may also notice this a lot if you're in grocery stores with some of those fluorescent lights that are overhead in those big box stores like a Walmart, where it feels like things are just getting washed out or everything is kind of shining in your face. It's just too much. And this is what glare is. And then there's contrast. Contrast is the difference between different colors. So, for example, can you see the edges of shapes? Can you see the words? Can you see curves? Those sorts of things. An easy way for me to describe it is something that is poor contrast is newsprint. So it has that dark gray paper with that black text versus, for example, this screen that you're looking at now that has black lettering on a bright white background. And I do have most of this in bold as well to help really make those contrasts stand out. Okay, let's talk about the types of lighting. And there's two main types. There's ambient lighting and there's task lighting. Ambient lighting is the lighting that's in your surroundings. This could be the overhead lighting, the lamps that light up your room, or even natural light as well. Now, the thing with ambient lighting is you want to make sure that you have even lighting in your area. And this is where glare may become a significant issue. For example, if you're trying to watch a movie that's a little bit darker, and maybe there's a window behind you that's shining the sun into it, there's a huge glare on the screen, and it makes it difficult to see. So being able to adjust the amount of ambient lighting is going to be important. And this is going to be good for us too for safety purposes, because you do want enough ambient lighting that you can see well enough on the floors, for example, or you can see cupboards coming, those sorts of things to prevent falls or accidents from happening. Then we have task lighting. Task lighting is the light that is focusing directly on the task at hand. So this is where lamps come into play. Or you may also notice some handheld magnifiers have a light bulb with it. And so that would be a form of task lighting as well. Now, the thing with task lighting is that you want to be able to adjust that brightness. This may be manually, so you're moving it closer or farther away, or if it has a dimmer switch with it, that can be another option for you. The other important piece with task lighting is that you want to use light bulbs that don't emit a lot of heat. So this means do not use those halogen bulbs or even incandescent bulbs because they can heat up over time too. And if you're working on a task for an extended period of time and you have that lamp right next to you, one, you're putting yourself at risk of burning yourself by accidentally touching the bulb, but it also will get hot. And that's something you don't want to deal with. It can become uncomfortable. So in general, with task lights, we lean towards the LED lighting or the CFL bulbs, those compact fluorescent lights. One thing I didn't mention was that with task lighting, if you have that gooseneck lamp, and I have this pictured on the slide, that allows you to adjust the light so that way it is going directly on where you're trying to go. Okay, let's talk about positioning. And this may be one of the most important slides for you because this is going to be, this has a lot of helpful tips for yourself to make sure that you are getting the best out of your lighting. First, with your ambient or your room lighting, make sure it's even throughout. You don't want to have pockets of dimness throughout because that can create issues with being able to tell where steps are, with contrast problems, and also glare. So make sure that that ambient lighting is even throughout the room and have ways to adjust that if need be. Additionally, with your task lighting, you want to place that light, if you're using a magnifier, between the magnifier and the material, or if you're not using a magnifier, between your eyes and the material, forming kind of a light sandwich. Why do we do it this way? Well, if you have the light behind that, it can create shadows and glare, and it may not be optimizing your light. So for some folks, you may actually like a slightly cooler level of light depending on the task that you're doing because it's going to be so close. Additionally, make sure your task light is directly onto the material. Try not to angle it, or if you do have to angle it, minimize it as much as possible because when you angle the light, it may cause some glare and some uneven lighting there, which is not going to be optimal for our eyes. Additionally, this is kind of a combination of ambient and task lighting, but it's a big safety measure, is you want to have lights in places where you are changing from bright to dim or from dim to light locations, such as the garage, your foyer, outdoor pathways, so on and so forth, from the basement to your upstairs or from the attic down. This will help minimize what I'm calling light blindness. So best way for me to give an example is, let's pretend we were outside for a while, and then it's a bright sunny day, and then we come inside into the garage that's barely lit, and all of a sudden we can't see anything at all. That's what I'm alluding to. And as we age, or if we have eye conditions, that's going to be multiplied. It's going to be more of an issue. So Having lights available for that will be important for you. Additionally, get lighting in your hallways. If you don't already have it, I strongly consider having this lighting because this is where a lot of accidents can happen, especially if you have to walk, if you're in the bed and you're going to the bathroom at nighttime. Um, if it's not well lit there, that's where a lot of falls can happen. So make sure that you do have some sort of lighting available for that. This could be a flashlight. This could be the little rope lights lining your walls. This could be little press-on lights. It could be really anything. Just as long as you have something so you feel confident navigating your space. Because at the end of the day, we want you to feel safe in your home. And then finally, consider having an LED flashlight handy, or even your smartphone, which has a light on it, because that can be useful for you on different tasks at hand where maybe you don't have a lamp readily available. But if you can just pull out your phone or pull out this little flashlight for a second, that can make life a lot easier for you. And consider bringing that with you when you go out in public spaces as well, because you never know what you're going to run into. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit more about contrast here because I think that's a major tool when it comes to lighting. Lighting and contrast is making sure we're optimizing that contrast. A lot of folks may come to the center and think that they need a lot of magnification, but in reality, they just need better contrast. And all of a sudden, they can see a lot better. So the first thing and the biggest thing I like to share is the writing guides. So as we can see, we have a bold writer pen, which is the thickness of a Sharpie, but it doesn't bleed through paper. So it gives you nice bold lettering that you'll be able to read. Additionally, we have thick, bold lined paper. This is going to be at the top right. This gives the lines on your paper like 4 to 5 times the amount of thickness. So it allows you to help try to see those lines a little bit more. And they're also in black, which helps with the contrast too. And then we have these writing guides, which are on the left here. There's a writing guide for all kinds of things, for pages, for stationery, for checks, for signatures, pretty much anything that you may need to write on, it has available for you. And this will also help improve your contrast, which will help optimize your remaining sight. So I went through a lot there, and one question a lot of folks may have is, well, how can I learn what's right for me? And the answer oftentimes is trial and error. Everyone's vision is going to be slightly different, and what you need for your situation may vary from person to person. Your space is going to be different from someone else's. Your vision might be a little bit different. And what you're trying to do may also be different. Someone who wants to just be able to sign checks or complete basic paperwork is going to need a little bit different lighting availability than someone who's trying to stay safe in their home. Or let's even say someone's really into cross stitch or something like that. You may need more light for something like that. So what do we do about that? How can we learn what's available and try it out without, blowing the bank? Well, at our Low Vision Resource Center, we do have a lot of these lighting possibilities out there for you to come and try out. And we'll spend as much time as you need with you. Our resource navigators can also assist you on correct positioning of lights, especially with handheld lights or the gooseneck lamps, which it may seem simple, but when you first hear about it, but it may actually be a little more difficult than you think. And so sometimes having that helping hand to adjust and for you to be able to kind of feel and see what optimal lighting is like can be a huge help for you. Additionally, we can help share with you some of the different lamps and lighting out there that we recommend. Overall, it's oftentimes LED lights as well as CFL lights that are going to be our most common recommendation, just because that gives that cool white light without any heat. So that way you're not really burning yourself up. So if you're interested in visiting our center and trying some of these things out, you can give us a call. Our phone number is 301-951-4444. And we will take as much time as you need to figure out what works best for you and to show you what you might like. So here's our contact information. And I understand that this was a slightly quicker presentation. However, this is because I really wanted to stay on point and allow time for you to ask your questions. This is a relatively simple topic. However, it is going to be complex of your own livelihood and what you're doing. So practice does make perfect with this kind of thing. And I recommend, again, make an appointment with us if you're not quite sure about things. And don't be afraid to try things out. Oftentimes, you may be able to get also like a 30-day trial period for different things. So don't sway away from that. Give that a shot because it may take you that long. It may take you a couple weeks to figure out if it's good for you or not. So I'm going to pause the presentation now and I'm going to pass the mic back to our presenter for today.